A man I know hit every target he ever set. The house, the title, the kind of life that photographs well. And last year, at his own party, his party, thrown for him, he leaned over and said something quietly, so no one else would hear. He said he felt nothing. Not sad, not burned out, nothing, like he'd spent 20 years filling a container and only just looked down and saw it had no bottom. He thought something was wrong with him, and that's the part I want to take apart tonight, because there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with you either, and somehow that's worse. What he was feeling isn't a personal defect. It's being manufactured, at scale. Right now, in the people who did everything right, the disciplined ones, the ones who optimized. There's a machine that makes empty people, and it runs on the exact things you were told would save you. By the end of this, you'll see that machine clearly, and you'll see the precise place where you've been feeding it. So before we open that machine up, one thing. This channel takes apart the comfortable lies modern life sells you 3 times a week. If you're tired of being told the fix is to hustle harder, subscribe, for the part of you that already suspects the hustle is the problem. Like this if that empty feeling landed too well. Now, the machine. Here's what you were taught about the empty feeling, that it's a lack. Something's missing, drive, discipline, purpose, and the whole is proof you haven't done enough yet. So the answer is always more. Optimize the morning. Find your passion. Set a bigger goal. Fill the gap and the emptiness closes. You can see the promise everywhere. The productivity gospel, the 5 a.m. clubs, morning routines stacked like prayer, tracked in an app, reviewed every quarter. All of it resting on one quiet assumption that the emptiness is a deficit and the cure is output. And it's a clean story. It puts you in charge. If the problem is that you're doing too little, then you can fix it, do more, do better, and one day the container fills. I believed that for years. I want to be fair to it, because it isn't stupid. It's just backwards. Backwards in a way that keeps you feeding the exact thing that's hollowing you out. Because this belief doesn't have one problem. It has 3. They stack. And the third one decides who you actually become, but you won't see it until you've walked through the first 2. So start with the crack that's easiest to see. Here's the first problem. The empty feeling doesn't come from doing too little. It comes from never stopping. Look at the people running hardest. Gallup surveys the global workforce every year, hundreds of thousands of people. Their 2024 numbers, only 23% feel engaged at work. 41% feel stressed through a lot of the day. And only about a third say they're actually thriving in their lives. The rest aren't in crisis. They're not falling apart. They're just running, busy and hollow at the same time. That's the tell. If emptiness came from laziness, the busiest people would be the fullest. They're not. They're often the emptiest. They've just got the least time to notice. I know because I tried to outproduce mine. When the flat feeling first showed up, I read it exactly the way I'd been trained to. Not enough. So I did more. More projects, more goals, more optimizing. And the emptiness didn't shrink, it fed. Every new thing I stacked on top just gave it more to sit under. I was pouring water into a bucket and calling the sound of pouring progress. So more was never going to close the gap. More is what dug it. But this is still the surface. The second problem gets under your skin, into what you actually became while you were busy. So what did you become? A project. Somewhere along the way you stopped being a person living a life and started being a thing you manage. A brand, a set of metrics, an ongoing improvement plan with your own name on it. And once you're a project, everything quietly gets repurposed to serve the output. Watch how total it is. Rest isn't rest anymore, it's recovery, so you can perform better Monday. Sleep is a performance input now. There are apps that score it. Friendship drifts toward networking. A hobby only feels legitimate once it could become a side hustle. Even stillness has to justify itself. You earned the break. Nothing gets to just be. It all has to pay. And here's what no one warns you about. A project can be flawless and still have no inside. It has deliverables. It doesn't have an interior. So the better you run yourself as a project, the more of the person gets sanded off until what's left is efficient, presentable, and strangely absent. That's the gray people describe and can't name. It isn't depression. Depression at least has weight. This is lighter and worse, a low, flat nothing where a self used to be. So it isn't that you're sad, it's that there's less and less of you home to feel anything at all, but being hollowed out is only the second problem. The third one is worse, because you're not just living inside it, you're the one guarding the door. Quick, honest pause, and then straight back in. Notice I'm not gating anything. The worst problem, the one that decides who you become, is next, and I'm not making you pay to reach it. It's all here. But a video like this, slow, sourced, built to make you uncomfortable, exists outside the thing that rewards fast and loud. It doesn't get pushed. It gets funded directly by people, not by an algorithm. There's a buy me a coffee link in the description. Pay what you want, pay nothing, and keep watching. That's a real option, not a guilt trip. Because the third problem is the one you built with your own hands, and I want you to see exactly how. Here's the third problem, and it reframes the first two. The emptiness isn't only being produced in you, it's being protected. And you're the one protecting it. Think about what it would actually take to face the empty feeling. You'd have to be alone. No input, no screen, no task. Just you, in a quiet room with whatever is or isn't in there. And that exact thing, is the one experience you've organized your whole life to avoid. Watch yourself for a single day. The second a gap opens, a line at the store, an elevator, 4 seconds at a red light, your hand goes to your pocket. Not because you're bored, because boredom is the doorway, and something in you slams it before you can step through. You call it staying connected. You call it relaxing. You've given filling every silence so many gentle names. So here's the part that stings. The distraction was never a symptom of the emptiness. It's the wall you built around it. Every scroll, every podcast poured into the shower, every the instant I'm alone I reach, those aren't the emptiness leaking out. They're the bricks. You spent years building a structure so you'd never have to sit in the one room where the emptiness lives, which makes you uncomfortably both the prisoner and the guard. So if the empty feeling isn't a lack you need to fill, then what is it? And no, the answer isn't to smash your phone and move to the woods. So let me give you the true version. 2 people saw this coming, one recently, one 400 years ago. The recent one is a philosopher named Byung-Chul, Korean-German, born in 1959, teaches in Berlin. In a small, sharp book called The Burnout Society, he says we changed what kind of prison we live in. The old world ran on discipline. Someone above you said, no, don't, you can't. That world had walls you could see and a warden who wasn't you. We tore those walls down, and we replaced them with something worse. Now, nobody has to force you, because you force yourself. You're not the obedient worker anymore. You're the entrepreneur of yourself, your own boss, and your own worker, driving yourself into the ground in the name of freedom. And here's Hans Blade, the line that stopped me cold: the exploiter is the exploited. There's no boss to escape, no one left to blame, because you're doing it to yourself, and it feels like ambition, so you never fight it. The burnout, the flatness, the empty feeling, those aren't your failures. They're the exhaust. That's what a person burning himself as fuel gives off. Now go back 400 years, to a 17th century Frenchman named Blaise Pascal, a mathematician, dead at 39. He noticed something that hasn't aged a day. He said nearly all of human misery comes from one thing: our inability to sit quietly, alone, in a room. He had a name for everything we do to escape that room: divertissement. Diversion. The gambling, the busyness, the noise, anything, so we never have to be alone with ourselves. Pascal saw the habit. He just never saw what we'd build to feed it. He didn't have a screen that never ends. We took the exact thing he warned about, the inability to sit alone, and we handed it infinite fuel. I made a whole video on the life you keep refusing to live, the one you file under later. This is what that refusal feels like from the inside. The emptiness isn't separate from the unlived life. It is the unlived life, sending you the bill. So put the two together. Han tells you why you empty out. Pascal tells you why you never feel it happen. And between them, they leave you with something hard. The opposite of empty was never more. It's the one thing almost no one alive was taught to bear. So here's the approach, and it's going to sound like nothing, which is exactly why almost no one does it. Stop trying to fill it. The emptiness was never a hole to pour things into. It's a signal. The one part of you the machine couldn't fully convert, still sending up a flare, trying to tell you something the noise has drowned out for years. Think about what a flat feeling actually is. It's information. It's your mind reporting that the way you're living has drifted miles from anything that feeds you. Fill it, and you kill the messenger. Sit with it, and it slowly starts to talk. Not in words. In the quiet return of things you forgot you had. A real preference, a genuine no, the memory of what you liked before you learned to check who was watching. So the opposite of empty isn't full, it's present. A self that still exists when it isn't performing, when there's nothing to optimize and no one to impress. That self didn't die on you. You just built a life too loud to hear it. And the way back isn't a bigger goal or a better passion. It's smaller and far more frightening than that. It's the willingness to stop. To stop producing for one honest moment and let the silence say what all the noise was covering. That's the work, and it's harder than any hustle, because there's nothing to achieve at the end of it, and achievement was your last place to hide. So the empty feeling was never the enemy. It might be the most honest thing left in you. The only real question is whether you'll let it finish a sentence. But what does that look like on an actual Sunday, not in theory? It's smaller than you want it to be. No ceremony, no breakthrough weekend. It looks almost like nothing, which is why it's so easy to skip. It looks like 10 minutes you don't fill. You sit down, you don't reach for anything, and you let the time be empty on purpose. That's it. It feels absurd. It also feels, if you're honest, a little threatening, which tells you how long it's been. It looks like a walk with no earbuds and no destination. No podcast turning the time into productive time. Just you and the street and whatever your mind coughs up when it isn't being fed. It looks like doing one thing a day that produces nothing and can't be posted. You make the coffee and you just drink it. You don't photograph it or narrate it or turn it into content. You let it be the small, unwitnessed, pointless thing it is. And mostly it looks like catching the reflex. That instant reach for the phone when a gap opens, you feel it start, and you just don't. You let the gap stay open. 10 seconds. Then 20. Long enough for something underneath to surface. Small, terrifying, clarifying. Because the moment you stop filling the silence, you find out exactly how much you've been using it to hide. So let me show you the difference in a single real moment. Picture a Sunday with nothing on it. No plans, no obligations. A whole day just sitting there, open. Two people, same empty Sunday. Watch what they do with it. The first one wakes up and feels the openness like a threat. Within an hour the day is full. Errands that could have waited. A deep clean nobody asked for. 20 minutes of scrolling that becomes 90. Then the small, respectable panic move, signing up for another course, because learning feels like progress, and progress keeps the quiet away. By evening, he's packed the day and he's exhausted, and Monday the gray is exactly where he left it. He filled the whole Sunday, and was never once alone in it. The second one feels the same threat, the same itch to fill it, but this time just once, she doesn't. She lets the boredom stand there. It's genuinely uncomfortable for a while. Her mind keeps offering exits, and she keeps declining them. And then, somewhere in the second hour of unfilled time, something quiet comes back. Not happiness, don't oversell it. Just presence. The plain sense of being a person in a room on a Sunday, awake to her own life instead of managing it. A thought she hasn't had in years wanders in. A small, true want. Nothing dramatic, but it's hers, and it's the first thing in a long time that didn't come from a feed. Same Sunday, same emptiness at the start. One of them spent the day proving they could outrun it. The other let it catch up, and got a piece of herself back. That's the whole argument in a single quiet afternoon. But before you go romanticize the emptiness, there's a line worth marking. Here's the line. The moment you understand this, your mind will try to do the one thing it always does, turn it into a project. You'll be tempted to optimize the silence. Track your meditation streak. Buy the app, hit the daily goal, measure your stillness and feel good about the numbers. But that's just the machine again, wearing calmer clothes. The second you're doing silence to get good at it, you've handed the empty feeling back its favorite tool. You can't productivity your way out of a problem that productivity caused. There's a second trap, subtler and uglier. You start to feel superior. You sat in the silence, you get it now, and everyone still running looks a little asleep to you. That's not depth. That's the same emptiness, flipped into contempt so it can feel like something. Real quiet makes you gentler with the people still running. You remember you were one of them last week. And I won't lie to you about the cost. Sitting in silence will not make you happy. Some of what surfaces in that quiet is stuff you spent years drowning for a reason, a regret, a want you abandoned, a truth about your life you'd rather not meet. And you'll get less useful to a world that only knows how to value your output. People built their idea of you around the version that never stopped. Some of them won't love the version that finally does. That's the honest cost. I'm not going to dress it up. So here's what I'd actually leave you with, and it isn't a technique. So I'm not going to hand you a plan. A plan is just the machine again, one more thing to optimize, one more streak to keep. You don't need a system for this. You need to stop once, on purpose. Tonight, 10 minutes, zero input, no phone, no screen, no podcast, no task disguised as rest. Just you, a quiet room, and whatever's been waiting under all the noise. Don't try to fix the emptiness. Don't journal it into a project. Just stop feeding it long enough to hear what it's been trying to say this whole time. It'll be uncomfortable. Your hand will go looking for your pocket inside of 30 seconds. That reach, that's the whole thing you're up against in miniature. Let it happen, and don't follow it. You already know what you reach for the instant the silence shows up. You've reached for it every day for years, so the only question left is whether you're willing to not reach, one time, and finally hear what's on the other side of the noise. The empty feeling has been trying to tell you something since the day it showed up. Tonight, you could let it finish, or you could reach for your phone, the way you have every night for years, and stay a stranger to your own life a little longer. The silence will wait. It's the most patient thing you own. The only thing you're deciding is how much longer to keep it waiting. Remember the man at his own party, feeling nothing? He isn't rare. He's the product, the finished output of everything we just took apart. And if any of this named the quiet you've been outrunning, don't let it evaporate by morning. So do one honest thing right now, in the comments. Finish this sentence. The thing I fill my silence with is... Just name it. Reading everyone else's is its own strange relief, proof you're not the only one running from the same room. And if someone came to mind while I was talking, the person you know who never stops moving, the one you're a little worried about, send this to them. That might matter more than anything I said tonight. This channel doesn't get pushed by the feed. It stays alive because people decide something human is worth keeping alive inside a feed that isn't. If that's you, the link's in the description, not to help me, but to keep this space here. I'll be back Monday. The only real question is whether you'll have sat in the silence, even once, before then.